Welcome back to Sip the Tally Films. I'm your host, Coach Evans, and today I'm going to give you my Baltimore Ravens versus the Philadelphia Eagles game preview. Now, this is a huge game for both teams. I think more so for the Ravens, and dare I say, it could be a Super Bowl preview. Both teams have a long way to go, but this is going to be a really good game. And when I present to you these numbers that I've found out doing my little research, you'll see that we have our work cut out for us. And in general, we have our work cut out for us anyway, what they've been doing offensively. But let's get into it. Welcome back to Sip the Tally Films. Hit that like button if you've not done so. Subscribe if you're new here, and roll the intro. All right, welcome back. And let's get started with the Ravens Eagles preview. We'll start on the offensive side. Ravens, obviously on the left with the purple background, Eagles on the right with the green background, and total yards. The Ravens are first in total yards with 426.7. Eagles not far behind, third, 389.1. Passing yards. We're third in the league in passing yards as far as per game average, 246.5. The Eagles are 25th. 195.7. Rushing yards, the battle of the two Titans. Baltimore is number 2 with 180. The Eagles are number 1 with 193. And keep in mind, the two lead backs in this game are number 1, 2 in rushing in the league as well. So that kind of shows in this stat right here. Points per game. Baltimore Ravens are second with 30.3. The Eagles are 7th with 27.9. Offensive TDs, the Ravens are second behind the Lions. The Lions have already played this week. The Eagles are 7th with 35. Now, that bottom one says time of possession, but that's not what it's supposed to be. It should say sacks. The Baltimore Ravens have given up 16 offensive sacks. That puts them third in the league. And the Eagles have given up 30, and that puts them 20th in the league. Now, let's flip over to the defensive side. Again, Ravens in purple, Eagles in green. Total yards. Ravens defensively 24th. Still not a number that I like, but it's better than it has been in the past couple weeks. 355.6 yards per game. The Eagles are number 1 in total yardage. 274.6. Passing yards. Now, keep in mind, the number is going down, but the number was so high, that's why we still 31st. We're out of that last spot. But remember, a couple weeks ago, that number was 299. Now it's 277. If we can get that thing down to 220-ish, I think we're going to be all right. Now, it's going to be tough to get it down to 220 and with, 5 games left. But just keep working. Keep it getting better. The pass yards for the Eagles defensively, 175.5. They're third in the league. Rush yards. Two of the better teams that's stopping the rush. Baltimore is 77.9 second. Eagles are 99.2 seventh in the league. Defensive points per game. We're 23rd. We give up 24.5 points per game. They're 6th. They give up 18.1 points per game. Defensive TDs allowed. They've given up 19. That's third. We've given up 31. That's for 25th. And then sacks, like sacks we've got, not sacks we've given up, like actual sacks that our defensive players have got and their defensive players have gotten. We're third with 39. They're ninth with 33. So when you look at these teams, this is one of the few games where the opposing team has the majority of the better team numbers. So on paper, the other team should win. On paper, other team should win. But I got some things in my mind that's gonna counteract on paper. But we'll get to that later on in the episode. All right, let's get into some individual stats. Let's compare the two quarterbacks. Two guys that I'm very fond of as far as quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts the bros, so Rue Jalen. But you got to lose this week. But let's get to the numbers that they have comparable. Again, the Ravens have not had their bye week. That's why Lamar has one more game than Jalen. The Eagles are 9-2. Ravens are 8-4. Completion percentage, Jalen Hurts has the advantage, 69.1 over 67.3. Passing yards, Lamar has the advantage, 3,053 versus 2,376. Passing attempts per game. No, it's not passing attempts. That's passing yards per attempt. Passing yards per attempt. Lamar has the advantage at 8.9. Passing yards per game, Lamar has the advantage, 254.4. Passing TDs, Lamar has more than double Jalen, 27-13. Interceptions, Jalen has 5, Lamar has 3. Lamar should have 0, but we all know that. Let's not get into those. Lamar should have 0. Passer rating, Lamar has the advantage, 117.9 over 102.3. Rushing attempts, Jalen actually has more rushing attempts than Lamar, but we know a lot of Jalen's rushing attempts come from the tush push. Now, he got 115, and 90% of them are not tush push. They're probably scrambles. But those 20 or so tush pushes, get his carries up. Because when we do a tush push or whatever, it's a tight end. It's not our quarterback. They do it with their quarterback because he squat a gazillion pounds. Him and Saquon both probably could lift the gym. But rushing yards, Lamar has right under 600. Jalen has 456. Rushing yards per attempt, Lamar is 5.8. Jalen is 4. And then rush TDs, and this is tush push. Jalen got 11 TDs. Lamar has 3. Now you'll see the opposite of that tush push when we compare the running backs. Let's get into the running backs. All right, again, like I said, number 1 and 2 in the league in rushing. Saquon's number 1, Derek's number 2. Let's look at their stats. Saquon has 1 less game, so keep that in mind when we're going through this. Saquon has 1 less game. The Ravens' bye week is next week. So after this Eagles game, the Ravens will have their bye week, which is the last bye week in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. Rushing attempts. Even though Saquon has less games, he has more rushing attempts than Derrick Henry. 223. Only 2 more, but still. He's played a whole less game and has more rushing attempts. And we're not going to talk about why that is. Not today, we're not. Rushing yards. Saquon, 1,392. Derrick, 1,325. Keep in mind, Derrick still got a week to sit out. So I don't know if, depending on how this game goes, we'll see. We'll see if he can catch him. Rushing yards per attempt. Saquon, 6.2. Derrick, 6 even. Rushing touchdowns. Derrick, 13. Saquon, 10. And this is what I was going to talk about with the tush push. Probably half of Jalen touchdowns. I think he had 11. Let's say 8 of them been from 1 yard out. So that would put Saquon, honestly, at about 18 touchdowns if they didn't tush push, if they just turned around and gave it to Saquon. And that's one of the reasons why in his contract, he don't have touchdown clauses, because he know how much they do the tush push. He got clauses for rush yards and receive. He got a whole bunch of different clauses, but it's not touchdowns, which is smart on his part. But and this is the added dimension that Saquon gives the Eagles that we don't kind of use Derrick Henry for, catching the ball out the backfield. Saquon has 27 catches at 9.5 yards per catch with 257 yards. Derrick Henry only has 10, but it's 9.6 yards per catch. And both of them have 2 receiving TDs. Now a lot of people in the NFL have been making this point throughout Thanksgiving weekend. Probably the 4 best rushers in the NFL this year were all free agents, and they're doing extraordinary things with their new team. These 2 guys right here, obviously, Derrick Henry and Saquon, Josh Jacobs in Green Bay, and then Tony Pollard has came along here lately with Tennessee Titans. So running backs matter. Running backs do matter. Let's get into the receivers, the top receivers, that is. All right, let's get into the top receivers for each team. Yeah, I know I love and root for my guys from the SIP, who A.J. Brown is. And, I've told A.J. Brown's story a couple times. I don't hear him not going to go into it again, but that's one of the dudes I root for on a consistent basis, even though he's on the other team. Just like Jalen, I root for you from time to time, but you got to lose this week, big dog. Zay Flowers and A.J. Brown. Let's kind of compare these two and see what the best pass catchers look like for both teams. AJ's only played in 8 games. It was hurt midway through the season a little bit. Just coming back, getting his groove back. Zay has 57 catches. He has 39. But with those 39 catches, he's right behind Zay in yards. 727 yards to 789. And the reason being, yards per reception. Zay get a lot of early in the season, he got a lot of quick screens and stuff like that. AJ going down the field. 5-yard difference in yards per catch. And that makes a difference with, 40 times 5. That's why he's right behind him in yards per catch. Both of them have 4 TDs. The difference is they have a few jet sweeps, and AJ is probably not running jet sweep because he ain't the fleetest of foot. He's a great route runner, but he ain't the fleetest of foot. He's strong, powerful, can run good routes, strong hands, but he ain't the fleetest of foot. Now, even though I just talked about these two, both teams have complementary guys to go with these. Starting with the Eagles, Devontae Smith. I don't know if he's playing or not. The Slim Reaper is what they call him. But if AJ, I think they have 2 number 1 receivers. Personally, me. I think Devontae and AJ both are number 1 receivers. And I honestly probably should have put Devontae up here with Zay, probably. Because both of them are 1A and 1A for the Eagles. Both of them can do you damage. In the short intermediate game, both of them get over top of you. Now, Devontae is a lot faster than AJ. But AJ's a more powerful runner, but their production kind of equals. So, and then Dallas Goedert with the tight end, and I think they got Josh Dotson as their slot guy. We'll see here in just a minute who their slot guy is. I got it on the graphic. And then for us, we got Likely, Mark. I really wish we would find a way to get Deontay Johnson involved. I think he's and Rashad Bateman, I'm sorry. I think he's a better third guy than Nelly, but it don't seem like it's a priority to get him involved. If you go back and look at some of his stuff earlier this season before he got traded with Carolina, he was productive on a crappy team. And the fact that he's now surrounded with competent receivers and a great quarterback, and we can't get him the ball, that's baffling to me. That's real baffling to me. But it is what it is. If they win, fine. If they win, fine. But both guys have complements around them to help them, do what they do when they do what they do. But I think these are the 2 guys that the defenses should focus on as far as, I ain't gonna say stopping them, but making sure they know where they at when the huddle is broken. Now, defensively, let's talk about what they have on that side of the ball. Leading tacklers, Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean. Root to the Bros, Nakobe Dean. Zach Bond has 104 tackles. Nakobe Dean has 84. The leading sack getter is Josh Sweat with 7. Milton Williams has 5. Brandon Graham, who's hurt. I think Brandon's done for the year, has 3.5. Jalen Carter has 3.5 from the interior, and Nolan Smith, who's a backup defensive end, who we'll probably see more of with Brandon Graham going down, has 3.5 also. The most QB pressures on the team comes from an interior defensive lineman, and that's Jalen Carter. Now, keep in mind, we saw Carter versus potential starters in the preseason, and we saw how that worked out. Well, the guy that he went against and kind of didn't have success at hadn't played a real snap other than a heavy package, but we're not going to go there. We're gonna stay on track today. And as far as their most targeted receiver, not receiver, DB, the rookie, Quinyon Mitchell. He's been targeted 51 times, gave up 29 receptions. Darius Slay, who's not playing, has been targeted 42 times, gave up 25 receptions. But the guy I want to see on defense, who's really surprising me, who I didn't think was going to amount to a sack of beans, Cooper DeJean. He's been targeted 39 times, giving up 25 catches. Kid's a lot better than I thought. And keep in mind, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper are rookies. Both are rookies. So we'll see what they got. As far as who's allowed the most yards for them, Mitchell has, then Slay. Then they have C.J. Gardner Johnson, who's a hard-hitting safety and attitude. adjuster and a guy that, if he catch you slipping, he'll muck you up. He'll muck you up. All right, let's dive into the matchups. Our offense versus their defense. And these are the numbers that you see behind them. They are PFF numbers. Ronnie Stanley at 70.4, McCarry at 66.7, Linderbaum at 81.5, Falele 58.3, and Rosengardner 59.9. Versus their D-line. Josh Sweat. Make sure I said that right. Yeah, Josh Sweat, 73.3. Ojomo, 62.7. Jalen Carter, 78.5. And then Smith, 70.6. Now, their D-line versus our offensive line is going to be really, really intriguing simply because up front for them, Jalen Carter is one of those gravity players. So Falele can't handle him one-on-one. Linderbaum can't handle him one-on-one. So they're going to have to double. And that leaves Sweat individually with Ronnie Stanley, Jomo individually with Macari, and their PFF grades are similar, so those two might be a wash. And then Rosengardner with Smith on the other side, and Rosengardner has played better, but his numbers still aren't good, and we'll talk about some of his numbers here in a minute. But their defensive line with Zach Bond doing what he do scares me. Zach Bond's at 87.3, and then the Kobe Dean is 69.9. That scares me. But if we can find a way to hold off Jalen Carter and get guards to the second level, I think we can run the ball on them. I do. But it got to be quick hitting. Honestly, I think it needs to be outside. Forget that interior stuff where Falele or Rosengardner got a down block on Carter and we have pullers. That crap ain't happening. Forget that. Run your zone stuff. Let it be quick hittings and go about your business. As far as on the outside, let's slide over to the outside. So the way I have it on the left side, that don't mean they all going to line up on the left side. But you got Bateman at 66.9 as a cornerback, as a receiver versus the cornerback Quinyon Mitchell, 73.4. Now, even though Mitchell is rated higher than Bateman, I think this is going to be a good matchup because Mitchell is pretty darn good and Bateman has been doing a lot better as of late. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. When we put Zay in the slot, if they throw Cooper DeJean on there, my eyes will be locked. I may not even see the snap. That's going to be the matchup I want to see. Zay versus Cooper DeJean, because Cooper has been playing some really good football lately. His grade is 79.6. Zay's grade is 80.1. As far as the tight end, Mark Andrews has played a lot more here lately or has gotten a lot more production here lately over Likely. So that's why he's on the graphic. And him kind of being matched up versus C.J. Gardner-Johnson or Blankenship. C.J. Gardner-Johnson may give him a little problem, but if he gets Blankenship, barbecue chicken. If Likely gets Blankenship, barbecue chicken. But Blankenship is the free safety. Gardner-Johnson is a strong, so they'll probably have Gardner-Johnson. Coming over here to this right side, you got Rodgers versus Deontay Johnson. Rodgers will be replacing Darius Slay. Big play Slay won't be playing this game. So this may be a guy that we can go at, no matter who's over there, whether it's Deontay Johnson, whether it's Nelly, whether it's Bateman. This may be a guy we want to target and let him be our you-know-what for this game. Now, flipping sides and looking at their offense versus our defense, they have one of the best offensive lines in the game of football. Left tackle, Malata, I think I'm saying it right. 92.9. Dickerson, 77.7. Jurgensen, the new center, replacing Kelsey, 67.8. Mekhi Becton, who nobody expected to be productive, 75.1. And then Johnson, 84.4. In my time doing these preview videos, this is probably the best, average, when you add them all together and average them up, offensive line PFF score that I've seen this season. So we really, really, really have our hands full. Oweh versus either one of these tackles, Jones versus either one of these guards. Matt BK versus either one of these guards and center combination. And PFF actually has Tavius Robinson as the edge for this game, which I ain't mad at. I ain't mad at one bit. I think he's earned maybe not the right to start, but definitely he plays the run just as well as he plays the pass. And to me, that says a lot. May not have a ton of sacks like Oweh. I think Oweh plays the run good, and that's why he kind of earns the right to pass rush. I think Robinson, who was my sleeper for this season, is really, really earning some reps. Now, is he really going to start? We don't know, but I like having him here. But again, him and Oweh versus both these tackles, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Simpson, Smith, and it's crazy that both of them have identical PFF grades. I expect Simpson to be where he's at, but not Roquan. And I know Ro's coming off this injury, so we got to be careful. But the guys that played for Roquan last week, I think they did an admirable job of stepping in. I really think they did an admirable job of stepping in, and I hope, I know Ro makes a gazillion dollars, but I hope they leave Kyle with that green dot. Did you see how much more flexibility we had on defense when Kyle hit the green dot? Kyle is the guy that needs to stay in the game the whole time. To me, that's my 2 cents. I know everybody don't agree with that, but it is what it is. Put what you think about that in the comment section. Who should keep the green dot, Kyle or Roquan? And going back to this edge real quick, Tavius is out there. Malik's probably going to be here more because that's where Malik is comfortable at that edge spot. But we got our hands full trying to deal with Mr. Barkley back there. Those 6 in the middle won't be the only 6 having to deal with Saquon. They run a lot of inside zone, very little gap stuff. But these 5 guys are so good at inside zone that they tend to get a hat on a hat and don't need a lot of help. So if Travis can demand help out of Dickerson and Jurgens, then that'll leave way for linebackers to get in there and gang tackle Saquon. I don't expect very many people on this defense to tackle him one-on-one, gang tackle Saquon. Let's get on the outside, though, before I go on the rant and be here too long. A.J. Brown, 91.1 versus Brandon Stevens, 52.7. Hopefully it won't be barbecue chicken. Hopefully. Trey White will be in this mix, I'm sure. In the slot, they had Dotson. I said somebody else earlier, but they got Jahan Dotson in the slot. I think I said a different name earlier. I'm corrected here now. Marlon Humphrey probably should dominate that matchup. And so we'll probably see Marlon on AJ some too, because those are 2 physical guys. I wouldn't be surprised if it was lined up like this, they'd switch and put Brandon Stevens on Dotson and Marlon on AJ, because AJ is physical. Marlon loves physicality. Matchup made in heaven for Marlon right there. Because AJ ain't like the fastest. Marlon ain't like the fastest either. So I think Marlon and AJ would be a great matchup wherever they go. Now, I don't think he's going to follow him, but if they happen to be matched up, I think it'll be a great matchup to watch. Other corner, Wiggins versus Devontae. Devontae will give a masterclass to Wiggins if caught in one-on-ones. But I think with each rep, Wiggins will learn and get better, and Wiggins won't be barbecue chicken. Maybe he might be barbecue chicken early in the game, but Wiggins is such a quick learner and a quick adjuster that I think by the time we hit second quarter, third quarter, and definitely fourth quarter, whatever tricks Devontae had up his sleeve, Wiggins will be all over him. The only thing I think Wiggins is susceptible to is a double move from Devontae, because Devontae has that type of quickness, and Wiggins is uber aggressive. Kyle Hamilton needs to be everywhere. 88.3, probably he is the highest rated defender we got. Needs to be everywhere because he got to help on Barkley, and PFF had Williams starting. We know Williams ain't starting. It's probably gonna be Ardarius, and I didn't look up his number, but Ardarius got to be everywhere. They all got everybody that you see on this screen right here defensively they got to help stop Barkley. Got to. But then that opens up our edge guys, our corners and stuff to one-on-one matchups. So, like I said, when I brought this thing on, we got our hands full, completely full. So we'll see how it works out. Let's get into some tidbits, and we'll get up out of here with my prediction. All right, this first tidbit says Lamar Jackson is on pace to be the first player in the Super Bowl era to lead all QBs in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and rushing yards in the same season. Know what that spelled for me? MVP. Another tidbit with the Ravens offense and defense. The Ravens offense leads the NFL with 426.7 total yards per game this season, while the Eagles defense leads the NFL with 274.6 total yards per game allowed. So a clash of titans right here. Best offense versus best defense as far as yardage is concerned. All right, another with the Lamar Jackson versus the Eagles defense. Lamar Jackson has recorded the most yards per attempt, 9.3, and the highest passer rating, 118.9, on pass attempts from the pocket this season. They said he couldn't throw from the pocket, including a 72.1% completion percentage, fifth, all career best on such attempts. The kid gets better and better each year. He's added to his game each year. Each year. Development. But the Eagles have allowed a league low 6 yards per attempt on dropbacks inside the pocket this season, including the lowest, I forget what that CPOE stands for, but I know it's unexpected, negative 5.3% on such attempts. Opposing quarterbacks have completed just 63.1% of their pass attempts inside the pocket against the Eagles, the second lowest, having recorded just a 80 passer rating, which is the third lowest. Let me see what that CPOE stands for real quick while I got you here. Completion percentage over expected. That's what it stands for. Completion percentage over expected. That's CPOE. The Ravens defense have allowed a league most 94 explosive pass plays. This season. That's 15 plus yards this season. The second highest explosive pass rate allowed 17.7% in the NFL. Opposing offensive have tried to attack the Ravens down the field this season, averaging 8.4 air yards per attempt versus the Ravens, which is the fifth most in the NFL. Again, that goes back to my point earlier. If we can just slowly chop down people's passing yards. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was 299 yards a game. Right now, it's 277. Just keep chopping wood, defense. Just keep chopping wood and be at your best. January, February. That's all we can ask for right now. The numbers are the numbers. We're more than halfway into the season. Just keep chopping wood, keep getting better. And that's the good thing about football. If you're playing your best at the end of the season, it don't matter what your regular season numbers are. And there's one more insight I wanted to give you. Now, you probably can't see this, but I'll just tell you what it says. It's about Kyle Hamilton. And it talks about his changing position since we couldn't find a safety to play back with our too high shell. We had to go and experiment, and the experiments didn't work. So Kyle has had to go move back to be one of those top half safeties and kind of come out the box a little bit. But this stat says Kyle Hamilton has recorded a shallower average alignment depth from the line of scrimmage this season at 6.2 compared to last at 7.3 due to injuries in the Ravens secondary. And I say injuries, but we know it's terrible play. Hamilton has played just 14% of his snaps in the box over the past 2 weeks, instead of lining up as a true safety on 73.9% of his snaps. In weeks 1 through 10, this is before when we were still experimenting, Hamilton aligned at safety just 26.3% of his snaps. So over the past 2 weeks, since we got rid of Eddie Jackson and Marcus Williams has kind of sat on down, Kyle has been a true safety for 73.9% of the snaps as compared to early in the season, 26.3. Adjustments were made. It looks like it's for the better. I do commend him on that, even though it took him a minute to figure it out, but better late than never. But never late is better. And lastly, this is going to be a slobber knocker. Like, this is one of those games where we tend to show up and show out because it's a highly contested, like a good team. And for some reason we play down to bad teams, but when a juggernaut is in the mix, we ball out. And I think that trend continues. I think it's gonna be a tight game. I don't think it's gonna be as much scoring as people think because it's gonna be a real fill out process. Then maybe the scoring comes in the second half. But I look for us to find a way to put a cap on Saquon. I don't think we're gonna stop him because their O-line is so good and he's so good. But I think we win time of possession. We chew the clock because if we mix in our pass, I don't think they can stop us running. And we just don't turn the ball over. Chew clock. Go back to the old school formula. Chew the clock. Don't turn the ball over. Henry about 25 carries. The QB run game may be a factor this week. Maybe Lamar gets about 10. And if we get bunnies, hit them. And then make our routine stuff. We have to play our game and don't allow them. Don't beat yourself. Don't cheddar bob yourself, and we should be good. So score prediction, and you guys put your score prediction in the comment box. I'm looking at 27-21 Baltimore Ravens. Tuck 2 field goals by Tuck, 3 touchdowns on the offense, and that's how we get our 27 points. So that's my prediction. You guys put yours in the comment section. I appreciate you guys for coming out. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with me. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. And make sure you tune in to the watch party tomorrow where we have the most fun in the Ravens community. Peace and love.